And we will go into our first team in the Bay Area. Very excited. I will be seeing their stadium this year as they ass pound the New England Patriots in week 4. The San Francisco 49ers, 12-5 last year. Same coach, Kyle Shanahan. Same offense, the one where this guy has lost 3 Super Bowls because of his offensive play calling, Kyle Shanahan. Soon to be a 4th loss in the Super Bowl. Who knows? Who's to say? But if San Francisco gets there, I'm taking a lot of money out to bet on the opposing team that Kyle Shanahan blows the fucking championship again. So, right back at you, Kyle. Projected starting offense. We have Brock Purdy, quarterback 12, and this is underdog ADP as of July 30th. Joshua Dobbs, backup, undrafted.
Dog.
Nobody thinking that Josh Dobbs is going to take Brock Purdy's job. Nobody's thinking that. Christian McCaffrey, his job safe. He's the RB1. Some of you may say, Joe, wasn't there another running back there in San Francisco that people were infatuated with for a little bit and you hated? You're correct. And that would be Elijah Mitchell, who's RB55. Wow. What a drop off from heaven that was. What a short 2 runs he had, and then, that's about it. Jordan Mason, RB82, and Isaac Guerendo, thank you. The rookie out of Louisville, sir, if I'm not mistaken.
And a former Wisconsin Badger. Can't forget about the Badgers. Go Badgers.
Hey, Wisconsin has produced some pretty good running backs, so you never know. You never know.
How you doing?
Deebo Samuel, wide receiver 1, is wide receiver 13. Contractless Brandon Aiyuk is wide receiver 16. Ricky Pearsall, the soon-to-be wide receiver 2, is wide receiver 68. Juwan Jennings, jack of all trades, wide receiver 98. And Jacob Cowing, wide receiver 124. And the only tight end Josh decided to list was none other than the man starring in the show called Receiver as a tight end, George Kittle, tight end 7. And we will start with the man having the contract issues, Brandon Aiyuk. Who, if you want to talk about him, he's wide receiver 16. Are you thinking he goes to another team? Are you avoiding him at all costs? I'm very interested why you chose Aiyuk to talk about.
Well, I wanted to keep it, hand in hand with my new articles. So I'll plug the article. Go ahead and check it out now on the Club Fantasy website, where you could break it down in full detail on why I believe in Brandon Aiyuk this season and for many, many seasons to come, because he is an absolute dog. All right. So the reason why I want to talk about Brandon Aiyuk this year is because the uncertainty of him being with the 49ers this year and even his potential with another team. Do I think that he gets traded? Honestly, I don't believe so. Do I think that it's going to be both him and the team have to come together and realize that he's probably going to have to get paid a little bit more than he should in a Kyle Shanahan offense and not as much as Brandon Aiyuk probably should be worth? It's probably going to be some kind of situation of that. But whether that's him in a Kyle Shanahan offense and the 1,300 yards is going to be something very obtainable and very easy to do in that offense versus him getting 1,300 yards in another offense, it's going to be a lot harder for him to accomplish that. But with the talent that he has, it's more than likely obtainable. So I'm not worried about Brandon Aiyuk, whether he's in a 49ers jersey or whether he's somewhere else. I know that he's going to ball out this year. So I'm not as worried about a holdout as much as some people might. But when you know that this guy has finished as wide receiver 15, wide receiver 14 the year before that, wide receiver 16, it's a little bit of a discount, just a little bit, but you know where you're going to get. So I don't believe that Ricky Pearsall is going to come in here and just shake up this whole offense, even though he could be great. He could be great for a long time to come. But we know Brandon Aiyuk is great right now. So I'm not worried.
Ryan, looks like you had something you wanted to say.
A new offense would scare me a bit just because of how late everything is. I tend to agree that he's not going to go anywhere. And it's the 49ers system has shown us the third wide receiver means nothing. Tout Ricky Pearsall all you want. If Aiyuk and Deebo are there, he's dust. It's just going to come down to if Aiyuk moves, where he ends up is going to matter to me because of how late we're getting into this. Once they start installing offenses, which they're doing now, it starts to become a worry. He knows this 49ers offense. I don't care how much camp he misses. He's not a guy with soft tissue issues. He knows the offense. He's young. It's not the same as like a T. Higgins situation where I was going to be extremely worried, or an Amari Cooper situation where I was going to be extremely worried if these guys missed camp. Aiyuk could sit out the whole fucking camp for all I care. If he's back in that 49er uniform, I agree with you. He's a top 20 wide receiver. It's just how high is his ceiling, and that's going to come down to, can Brock Purdy do what he did last year again? I'm not saying he can't. I was very high on Aiyuk. The longer he's holding out, the more I get worried, because the tea leaves are screaming trade right now. It just doesn't make sense to see a trade right now.
Yeah, so there's no way San Francisco makes this trade. Like, you can't do this, because you're not really getting a championship winning piece in return, right? When you trade these types of wide receivers, you're getting back draft capital. And draft capital is not going to help San Francisco win a championship this year. So it doesn't make any.
Kind of. I mean, like, I like this trade. This is the only trade that I think that actually works out for the Niners for what their situation is, and it also helps out Brandon Aiyuk. And that's trading Brandon Aiyuk for Davante Adams with some kind of pick compensation, because he can still be that one for many, many years to come in Las Vegas, get paid appropriately, get paid in an offense that's not Kyle Shanahan, and he probably will still hit that 1,300 yards, because Davante Adams is, he's able to do that at his age. Why couldn't you believe that Brandon Aiyuk could do that for many years to come too? So if you just kind of like swap those two at these points in their careers, I wouldn't see much drop off in Davante Adams with the Niners. I think that it would be a great pick in fantasy, honestly. So that's the only trade that I think that actually would like work out.
I think that would be an awful trade for Davante Adams, because this is not a high volume target offense.
Yeah, but he wants to win.
Hear me out.
And that's fine. That's fine. But find a season where Davante Adams has over a 70% catch rate and 100 targets, because that's essentially what you're looking at with Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk gets his money by being efficient, because that is what Kyle Shanahan's offense is. It's the same thing that Mike McDaniel is running right now in Miami. It's yards after the catch. It's downfield targets. Davante Adams, if he were to end up being swapped here for Brandon Aiyuk, which again I don't think is going to happen, you're not going to throw him the football 150, 160 times.
Josh, I got to do this for the viewers. I'm going to break the fourth wall here. I'm going to let them know I'm nuts. Party of one, guys. Okay, guys and gals, I am absolutely bonkers. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little bit of my conspiracy board, my whiteboard up there. And so hear me out. Davante Adams goes to the Niners. I'm not going to root against my Brock Purdy. That's my guy. But let's just say Brock Purdy doesn't have as great of a year, and he doesn't live up to this contract that he's getting paid. What if the Jets underperform and Aaron Rodgers links back up with Davante Adams back home with the Niners, and they correct that mistake, and that's where he retires?
That's not correcting a mistake.
Instead of the Vikings, it's the Niners, mistake. And we've been waiting for it this whole time.
You just added an extra step to Davante Adams becoming a Jet. Like that, you just...
No,
just added an extra step.
It makes more sense, and it makes sense on my benefit. So that's the most important
That is
part.
not your benefit. This Aaron Rodgers is not better than Brock Purdy. Plain and simple.
Whoa. We can have a lot of differences of opinion about Aaron Rodgers, but we cannot have a difference in opinion that this guy is still a four-time MVP. Yes.
Wonderful career he's had.
We'll be talking lots about Aaron Rodgers later in this program. Stay tuned. Get your popcorn.
We're talking a lot of bad things about Aaron Rodgers in this upper right-hand quadrant.
From you, boo.
The whole right side, buddy.
Yeah.
From you.
75% of the show has nothing good to say about Aaron Rodgers. So that's what it's.
Sweet 25% is what we're gonna bank it on, and 25%, baby, 25%.
You know, Hoov, I thought you had a trip to Egypt you had to get to, but I appreciate you moving that around to make time for this show.
We can have a whole podcast about pyramids. My bad.
Because I know it was a last minute thing, and it wasn't like you knew about, this show for months because you're not employed or anything by the team, and you knew that the certain dates were set to be there for certain days, but you said, nah, Egypt. I appreciate you being here for that. Unlike the aforementioned Aaron Rodgers, who knew about his certain job that he needed to be there for that certain time. But, I understand Aaron Rodgers with his $108 million guaranteed from Green Bay in his last contract is really strapped for cash. So moving those flights around, the cancellation fees, oh my God, it would have bankrupted him. It would have
never gotten
bankrupted him.
turned down at work for time off and just called in. Come on. Let's be real. We're real people. We're real people. This is a real situation.
No.
Even at the highest level, baby.
We're real people. He thinks he's in a fucking simulation. So it's no.
We're all real people at the end of the day, baby.
Okay. Well, my 10 seconds on Brandon Aiyuk is he doesn't seem like the type of guy that is going to hold out and be happy about it. He's going to hold out and be a dick about it. So he's either getting his contract and playing or not getting his contract, and the Niners will be trading him for next to nothing because they didn't do it ahead of time. So, and I also worry that when he comes back, he just might not be game shape ready. So don't draft him. Just trade for him in week 4. Trade for him in week 4, and you'll get a much better deal on Brandon Aiyuk.
I was going to say, when Nick Bosa held out and he signed his deal last minute, he was pretty shit for the first half of the season.
I know. I drafted him.
Yeah.
And I dropped him because I didn't want him anymore.
Yeah.
And you want to know...
That's the thing. When you miss training camp, you miss getting into shape. It's less about...
NFL speed.
Timing, learning the offenses.
Yes.
Like, NFL speed is just... It's different. Plain and
Yes.
The Niners had their faults. I will say that. At the
starts at the
start
top.
of the year... Until Chase Young came there was a blatant, obvious hole on the defense for the Niners. Other than
Nick Bosa not wanting to sack white quarterbacks, that was a huge hole for them. Look at the stats.
Lord.
It is, guys. It's a glaring difference. He has a one sack. He has a 1 sack higher difference against black quarterbacks than he does white quarterbacks. I'm not saying the stat makes sense. I'm just saying that's a weird stat. That's all I'm saying. It's a weird stat. It's a weird stat.
Good Lord.
It is.
Incredible.
It is. It's a weird stat. That's all I'm saying. All right. Where are we? Brock Purdy? Sure. He's a quarterback 11 now, consensus in terms of redraft ADP, 12-team, 1 PPR. Josh, I know you don't like him. So I don't know where you're going with this because it's not like he's being overdrafted.
It's less about me not liking him. I'm very much of the mindset that he is a system quarterback. But you know what? If the
everyone's a
really
system quarterback,
fucking matter. Exactly, everyone's a system quarterback. But
everyone,
all corners are
the thing that you can't dispute. He led the NFL touchdown percentage, yards per attempt, air yards per attempt, passer rating, and QBR last year. He was a damn good quarterback in 2023.
Yeah, when you look at the low pass attempts and he dropped 30 touchdowns, it's incredible.
He was 20th in pass attempts. 20th. And he put up those types of numbers. That is insanely efficient. Which, what happens when things are sky high? Where can they go? Down, right? That is the biggest worry here, because if he's going to have this kind of low passing volume, if these metrics start slipping, he becomes an outlier. And that QB12 isn't really safe, because at QB12, you're drafting him as your starter. He's one of these kind of the guys that are sort of grouped into this low QB1 range. There's tiers within this range, but you've got Dak, Jordan Love, even CJ Stroud, I think, to a certain degree. Tua, Jared Goff, these types of quarterbacks can all very easily end up as mid to low end QB1s on the season, right? But if things don't go their way, about half of them might end up as QB20. And that could very well be what we're looking at with Brock Purdy if this team takes a step back. Because here's a really interesting stat. In the last 10 years, every NFC team that has lost the Super Bowl, only one has actually won a playoff game.
Did we lose the Super Bowl or did the Chiefs win?
They still lost the Super Bowl. I don't care how you want to play it. You can reword it however you fucking want.
That's not the point.
The stat is the stat. They lost the Super Bowl.
Kyle Shanahan lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So my only concern, and I don't even know that it's a concern. I agree with everything Josh is saying. The thing is, though, if you're willing to wait on quarterback QB12, and you said, if he doesn't keep the consistency
at that point.
But what I find interesting, obviously just looking at my own projections, QB 8 down to Brock Purdy as my QB 16 are separated by like 15 points. It's not that big a deal to me. And so then I went and looked at his last year numbers. If you take 6 touchdowns away from Brock Purdy and bring him to 25 touchdowns, he's still the QB 11. Now, obviously last year was a weird season in that so many quarterbacks missed games last year. So calling him the 11 when you're going to get guys like Kyler Murray and Anthony Richardson back from last season is a little bit of misleading. But what I'm trying to get to here in a very long route is if you're willing to wait on quarterback, you kind of accept that you're going to get a quarterback who falls in that range. And the difference between QB 20 and QB 12, Josh, sounds terrible. It's not if everybody were to play every game. Obviously, Purdy had the minorly elevated injury risk last year because of what we saw, but he played 16 games last year. So I'm not worried about him from an injury standpoint. I think he's a 16 to 17 game quarterback. So even if he does drop 5, this is going to sound ridiculous, but even 10 touchdowns, he's still a viable starter at QB 12. You might be better off streaming, but you're gambling a lot less with Purdy. You're playing the floor instead of the ceiling at that point.
Correct.
So, and the only thing that really worries me about him this year is like if Trent Williams actually holds out. If this thing goes into the season, is like that 3 games when he was injured last year, you saw that dip in production, and like that's obviously why we ended up losing that stretch. So it really comes down to Trent Williams for me on how much I'm targeting Brock Purdy. Like point. I've said this since the start of the offseason that like how the quarterback rankings have fallen. It seems like every single like quarterback value, you know what you're going to get out of that and like the difference. And I really can't hate the rankings. So like if you go after Brock Purdy, but you also like want to wait 2 picks for Jaden Daniels, I can't hate that. Like I can't hate that at all. Just kind of seeing that everyone in that stretch, even Justin Herbert, like if everyone wants to hate on Justin Herbert, but like there's definitely just as much upside with someone like Justin Herbert potentially finishing as QB. It's like 13, whatever, you know, just outside there, you know. So there's so much reason to like be willing to wait on a quarterback, and also like if you really are in on Brock Purdy, it's not a bad pick there.
Purdy's in this weird no man's land for me because most of the time when I'm talking Purdy, I'm talking super flex. He goes too early for me in super flex, and what I mean by that is I would want him as my QB2, but most people are still taking him as their QB1 or just a little bit too early. I've already grabbed my QB1. I'm not quite ready to grab my QB2 yet. And then Purdy goes before me. So I don't think I have a 0. I think I have 0 shares of Brock Purdy in any league.
I have 1 share, and it's in our Ballers and Friends league because I got him in the Kyler trade.
Ah, that's right.
So I traded Kyler for Purdy in a 1. So like I'll take that value in Dynasty.
Like him and Daniels are the last 2 guys that like in a super flex league, if I want to like really wait on a quarterback first round, those are the 2 guys I'm targeting. So like I understand why Brock Purdy's ADP is where it's at because of sickos like me that wanted to wait. But
to be fair though, and I'm going to regret saying this, Hoov, your boy Aaron Rodgers is a reason I wouldn't touch Purdy because Aaron Rodgers is going like 5 rounds later, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll just roll with this guy who I know his job is safe. And so as much as I hate it, Aaron Rodgers is the reason I won't draft Brock Purdy.
It's because you know that he's going to be good.
It's fair.
You know he's going to be good.
I'm thinking back to my best ball drafts because I treat best ball. Obviously, you're leaving with 2 or 3 quarterbacks. And I thinking back, and I'm like, every time I would see Brock Purdy, I would look and see Aaron Rodgers and Baker Mayfield with 5 round later ADP, and I'm like, nah, fam, I'll just wait. So.
That's right.
So I will do a little would you rather, and I see Ramin, I see your question. I'll get to that in a sec, I promise you, because it's a good one. Brock Purdy's currently 11 in terms of consensus, ADP, redraft.
It's gonna be so weird.
It is going to be weird. Kyler Murray's 10. I don't need an explanation. I just want to know who, Kyler Murray or Brock Purdy.
And you said just like general super flex?
No, 1 QB.
1 QB.
1 QB. It's a PPR, which obviously doesn't matter for quarterbacks, but this should not be a debate.
Stop. It's the injury risk. It's the injury risk.
This should not be
versus a solid quarterback, like Brian alluded to, 16, 17 games, you're going to get out of it.
Should it be a debate?
Why is that a debate? Like, why isn't that a
Shouldn't be
debate?
a debate.
Would you rather have Kyler Murray or Jared Goff?
Kyler Murray.
Is it close?
It's Jared Goff for me.
No, it's not close for me.
I don't know. I think I like the safe floor. I like that.
Joe, wait a second. Scampers points out.
Oh,
that
my
you described
apologies.
this
My apologies,
very
Scampers.
strange
Yeah.
Game that
So,
we just
who,
made
if you've never played Would You Rather? So, Would You Rather is a game where I present you the player in question. Right now, Brock Purdy. And then I present you other players in question. For example, like in this last exercise, Kyler Murray. And what happens is I need you to tell me which one. I don't need some long-winded fucking answer or question back to me. I need you to answer one or the other, and that's it.
Fine.
That's all I need.
I'd rather wait and take Purdy.
Kyler.
Okay. All right. Fair. Ryan.
Kyler.
Josh.
Murray for the upside.
Okay. Ryan already said Goff over Purdy. Or I'm sorry, Goff over Murray. Would you do
Goff over both? Yeah.
Okay. Hoov, Goff or Purdy?
I would rather have Purdy.
Okay. Josh.
This year, Goff.
Okay. I'm indifferent. I wouldn't draft either of them for the purposes of the exercise. Goff because I wouldn't. I hate both of them. Tua or Brock Purdy? Hoov.
Purdy. That's very easy.
That one I can agree with you on. Ryan.
They are the same person. First of all,
One's right-handed, one's left-handed.
Wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the guy who has Tyreek Hill. Give me Tua Tagovailoa.
Josh.
Purdy.
Purdy knows what a third read looks like and how to get there. Brock Purdy.
Caleb
Williams or Brock Purdy? Hoov.
This year, Brock Purdy. Dynasty, Caleb Williams in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Ryan.
Caleb Williams. You're just proving how much I hate Brock Purdy.
Josh.
Purdy.
If it wasn't Shane Waldron, I'd be like all on that. Like
that offense.
I don't like Caleb Williams. I'm on record saying that for a long time now. So I'd probably go Purdy in this instance. And then I will end it with, because he is creeping up draft boards, Justin Herbert or Brock Purdy. Hoov.
That's Brock Purdy.
Ryan.
I've been all over the place on Herbert. They are next to each other in my rankings, literally at the same point level, separated by less than a point, but I'm going Justin Herbert.
Okay, Josh.
I, too, have them back-to-back, but I have Herbert with a higher points per game, so give me Justin Herbert.
I would rather Purdy in this instance. I am on the fuck Jim Harbaugh train.
I just can't believe that.
So,
yeah, that's true.
Why? Okay.
Why? I don't know. Hoov. Let's look at his fucking history. You want to break it down?
Joe is a perpetual hater.
Who cares? That's your history.
Remember those 8 straight years before Ryan Day became the head coach at Ohio State, where Jim Harbaugh couldn't do his one fucking job and beat Ohio State, and then Ryan Day came in and said, "Whoop-de-doo! I'll give you 4 straight wins." Remember that? Remember that time?
You an Ohio State fan by chance?
No, I'm not. I could care less. But I asked Michigan fans, like, would you rather beat Ohio State once and go 1-10, or would you rather go 10-1 and lose to Ohio State? They say 1-10 every year. And you know what Jim Harbaugh couldn't do? He couldn't go 1-10. He went 10-1. Notre Dame never gonna fucking win. You want to know why? It's Notre Dame. They just choke. Notre Dame's never gonna win. Michigan is a pile of shit, and so is Jim Harbaugh. He can't win. He can't win.
No, he's a Patriots fan. He doesn't hate success.
I don't hate success in the slightest. I don't hate.
Then you should like cheaters. You really should. You should like cheaters.
I have lived and breathed success.
Winners that cheat. That's literally Michigan boy Tom Brady that delivered you all those championships. You should be hand in hand.
Maybe if Kyle Shanahan just cheated a little more, maybe he could have won a couple. I'm just saying.
Let's pull the daggers out, guys. Come on.
Look. It's not my fault that I call 70% pass plays when I'm up 10+ points in the Super Bowl. That's not my fault. That's simply just another average-looking white dude where his dad got him his job. That's all I'm saying. And
let's talk about the important things. Okay.
Yeah, George Kittle. So Ryan, I want you to talk about George Kittle for 30 seconds.
I'll say we've been on this for way too long. It's actually pretty easy for me. I thought there was a discount for Deebo Samuel early on in the offseason for best ball drafts. The Aiyuk uncertainty had not really reflected in Deebo Samuel's ADP. It has since caught up. Deebo Samuel is working his way into second round of many drafts. That is now moving its way on to George Kittle. He's going off as tight end 7. That's about where I have him ranked, but I was just looking at my rankings. He's the only top 10 tight end that I don't currently have at 100 targets. If Aiyuk is gone, George Kittle could fucking feast this year. So George Kittle right now is the Brandon Aiyuk discount.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm with you, Ryan. He's the only tight end in the top 10 that I have without 100 targets, and I have an 89.
Beauty.
All
right.
I'm not gonna debate that. That's smart football. Listen to the guys.
Yeah.
Best tight end in the NFL, George Kittle.
I don't even
Not
argue
gonna
with you
dispute
guys on
that
that
either.
anymore. Just not the best fantasy tight end.
Yeah, he's not the best fantasy. He's the best tight end, not the best fantasy tight end.
Best blocking tight end, 100%.
There you go.
Exactly. Who? Imagine doing half your job and people telling you you're the best.
Works out. Hey, worked out real fucking well for my guys.
Does it? Does it?
Yeah.
Because
Pretty sure he's paid, has plenty of Super Bowl rings, and is dating Taylor fucking Swift.
Yeah,
I think he's
but,
on
like-
easy street at this point.
And
Yeah,
he's a
but like,
podcaster, man.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he could quit football and make as much money off of his goddamn radio shows.
and his Pfizer ads too. I
Yeah,
think
that's
that'll
true.
that'll help him. Top 3 favorite best bets. Who have you got? San Francisco to score 1+ receiving touchdown in each of the 17 games. That's plus 800. Josh, you have Brock Purdy for the most regular season passing yards at plus 2,500. Sure. I will tell you the same thing I told you 3 weeks ago. Go spend $10 on a Big Mac and throw it out the window because that's a better use of your fucking money than betting that right there.
He was
And-
4th last year. I don't see why it's so asinine.
Yeah, and he's the same guy as Tua Tagovailoa, who
Exactly, and he led the league in passing yards. Granted, I'm not saying this is a bet that I would take, but I am saying that I think that it is entirely possible, and these are insanely good odds.
Yeah. All right. We'll see.
Hater.
Yeah, sure. Ryan, you have them as the best regular season record at plus 750.
Why not?
Yeah. Why not? That feels weirdly good at plus
I threw
$7.50.
$5 on it.
Yeah, fuck it, we ball.